Hello, this is Bonnie, and today I'm going to be working on kind of like, not really a nautical, but an ocean type project. And I am going to be using Fairy Hug's Storyteller, and I'm also going to be using the journal butterflies. I was going to use the birds from Fairy Hugs, but these just tied in so much better for what I wanted to do. I am inspired by I think it's Debbie Morgan from the 90s, and she made this really pretty ocean scene, and so it's what inspired me to make this today. So what we're going to do is I actually have kind of laid out what I want to do. It's going to be an 8x10, so it's something that can be framed and give as a present if you wanted to do something like that, or you can make it smaller and make it into a card. So these are all the things. Oh, I forgot to say, I am also going to be using this sentiment. I don't think I pulled that out to show you, but I'll pull that out in a little bit when I take a break in between, and I'll tell you exactly which one this is. But this is a Fairy Hugs one as well. So this is like basically what the layout's going to be. And so I wanted to tell you how big this was. I don't think I have the right size to tell you, but the whole thing is 8x10. This one is about 7 1/4 by 3 inches. And then I matted it just a little bit bigger. And so that's 5 inches. And so this is 8, it's 9 inches. It would be 9 inches. And I'll have all those measurements below. And then this is, like I said, an 8x10. So I believe it's an 8x10. If it's not, I'll go ahead and put, like I said, that information will be below in the description. So to start, we're going to take the smallest piece and we are going to make some water. And to do that, I am going to be using the Blueprint Sketch Distress Oxide. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of that on my mat here. And I'm going to spray that because I want it a little bit wet. And then I'm going to take, this is kind of like a bristle type of a brush. So it has a, it's going to show that when I go to go across. I'm just going to go across like that. Very simple. And this paper is a heavier cardstock. I don't know if you can see that, but it's not watercolor paper, although watercolor paper would be great. So I'm just going to be going across to kind of like, I'm going to give it kind of like a water look. That's all I want to do. I don't want too much because I do want the background a little bit show through. So that's all I'm going to do for that. It's as simple as that. And then I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I don't need any more of that. I'm going to take, I want to make the sky, and I am going to take broken china, and I'm going to do something similar, but I'm going to put that on here, like that. And then I'm going to get my blending brush, and I'm just going to mist that just a little bit. And I'm going to pick up my ink from here. And I'm just going to be rubbing that across for my sky. It's really simple, but it's giving me the look I want of the ocean and the sky behind. Super simple. And I still kind of get a little bit of a cloudy look there. So that's the look like I'm going for. What I am going to do for down here, actually it'll probably go up here too, is I am going to use some bigger drops from my sprayer because I do want a little bit of drops in the water. If you don't spray it, you hold it really slow, it gives you the bigger drops. And I just thought that would give me some texture. Now if I put this down right away, it's going to lift it right up to the background. But if I let it sit, it'll work because it is Distress Oxide. So I'm going to let that sit a little bit and then I'm going to dry it. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go ahead and stamp those stamps I told you about. Clean this up a little bit. Okay, get ourselves all set up. And on this one, I am going to be stamping the, there's 3 different size butterflies. I am not going to be using, I do not believe I'm going to be using the large one. So this one right here is the one I'm going to be using, kind of like if you look at these 2, it's the largest of those 3. And I'm going to be stamping that onto brown or Kraft paper. And I want to keep that bottom part down as best I can. And I'm going to be using VersaFine Clair Nocturne. Now this is something that I am going to cut out and put on. I want to fussy cut this and put that on the final look. So I'm just showing you this. I know you know how to probably get these stamped, but I wanted to show you which ones I'm going to stamp and why. So that one's really great. I'll just show you. Okay. And then the next one I want to do is I'm going to do it on the same color paper that I did this on. So I'm going to fussy cut this also so that it has that background to it. Because I can't cut into some of it. Plus I want this color to make it look like more like newspaper. All right, so same concept, setting that on there. And I'm going to stamp that with Nocturne as well. If I can find where I put it. So far, if you had this stuff all together, it's only taking us like 7 minutes just to get this far, so that's not too bad. All right, let's see how that works. And that's super. You see how great these stamp? They're really just, they're really good. So now that we've got all the basic things done, I'm gonna go ahead and get some more things set up and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is a sentiment that I'm using. It is called Serenity from Fairy Hugs. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I'm going to color up this boat. It's called Storyteller. And according to my inspiration, she gave some red to her sailboat. And so I'm going to be using, this is a darker color for my pencils. I always try to think of things like in 3 colors, like dark, medium, and light when I'm coloring. And like I said, I wanted to add red to the scene. I think the red lots of times will pop. So this would be kind of like where I'm considering the shade to be on here. And this is just how I usually start coloring. It does also help to have a sharpened pencil. And this one's not too bad, but I know it's going to need to be sharpened. So the next color I'm going to go up to another red. This is called Scarlet Lake. It is a little bit, I want to say, it seems to have a little bit, maybe a little bit more of an orange cast to it. And I'm just kind of like, just like if you were a Copic color, I just kind of like tried to find a color that will blend and not really show the line from one to the next. Sometimes it does, because it just depends on the pencils you have and if you have that variation. So the next color I'm going to go up to is going to be actually a pink. And that pink, it depends sometimes on how much of this light you want it to be. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to try this one first. I'm just going to add a little bit to it. It's hot pink. The other one, yeah, I told you what that was. So I just like to be able to have that blend, but if there's not enough of the contrast, and you see right now I don't see that contrast I want, although this is good to go back over and make it a little bit more solid. So I'm going to come back with yet a fourth color because I want that little piece right there to be a little bit lighter. So let me finish this coloring that in, and I'll add that fourth color. And that fourth color is going to be, like I said, a lighter pink, and this one is Deco Pink. And you can kind of see what it'll blend back into it and actually make it a little bit lighter going backwards. So I kind of like that, giving that look to it. So like I said, we're doing this really like a sailboat in a way. All right, and that's what that looks like if you're just going to do the sail. So then I also want to do the base down here. And I'm trying to think, I think they actually kind of like did a blue, but if I do a blue, I'm afraid that it might blend in too much with this. So I'm not really sure. I'm gonna go look at my inspiration a minute and I'll be right back. Okay, so my inspiration really is, I don't know, kind of like it has a red stripe in the base and it's just white. So I'm going to be doing the gray, and the gray will give me the look of a whitish boat. So this one happens to be 70 Cool Gray. And this is going to be, unless I find it differently, this is going to be my darker color or shade. And I am going to go inside of the boat. And I just might add, I'm going to really pay close attention because I think I want to add a stripe to it, but I'm not really sure how that's going to go because of the newsprint that's already on it. All right, so then this is the next color. It would be the 50 Cool Gray. There's a whole set of Cool Gray, and it starts like with the 90% and it goes down to 10%. And so that's really helpful if you're ever wanting to do, they have like 3 different grays. They have a warm gray, this is the cool gray, and then they also just have a French gray. And it all has a little bit, you wouldn't think there's so many grays, but there really is. And it does really make a difference when you go to color. All right, so that kind of gives us our depth. I think I'm going to go ahead and give that some of it to the sides. Yep, this is going to make it a little bit longer video, but actually I think it's kind of fun to, this isn't really difficult to color, but it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a, you can see what you can do. Now remember, if you don't want the gray, say you want it to be a color, do the same concept, find your darker, medium, and your light, and then use it in the same way that I'm using the gray. It's pretty simple that way. So right now I'm using my lightest color, which is 20%. So there is a 10% that's even lighter than this, and obviously a darker color that I did not use. And so like as I'm coloring, I mean, I know there's some people, they just know what it needs to be done, where the color needs to be. I just kind of like look at it and say, And then actually if you stand back and look at it, even if you look at it through your phone, sometimes it'll really give you a better perspective of what you need to do. It's surprising, but it does. Like when I'm looking through my phone at this as I'm coloring, I can kind of see, oh, well, I think I maybe need to do this or that. So I don't know that it really needs a stripe on it, but I do think I'm going to come back in with the lightest gray, which is a 10%, and I'm going to come in here and just, because I don't think I don't want it to pop that much of a color. just a little bit. And it also helps me blend in the colors. So, as you can see, there's other things on here, and I don't think it's going to take away if I go ahead and add some color to that. This is supposed to be like a branch, so I am going to use like a darker brown, and this is actually called dark brown, and I am just going to come in there and add that to it. I am really considering adding a color, and I'm trying to think to the leaves, but I don't want to take too much of it away. If I put a green, you can see if I put a green on there, it's gonna like not blend in with what everything is that I have. So I think what I want to do is to find like a blue gray, not a blue gray, but a turquoise. So that kind of like would work. If you can see what I'm saying, I'm trying to make it so that it blends in. If it's green, it's just really going to look different. And this is not a lot, but because of how I'm gonna fussy cut this out, I wanted a little bit of color here. It makes it a little bit easier for cutting. And I think I'm gonna check the bottom if I wanna add the water. So that's just giving me a little bit of that color. And I think again, this is a little bit different color down here. So that's what I do, is as I'm doing this, I kind of like look at my colors and say, okay, does this go? This looks like it could go. But I think I also have a color that has more of a, see, this one's kind of bright, it'll pop out. I want to have one that's going to blend in if I cut that out. So I'm going to be using this color because it seems to go well with the, I'm going to call the blueprint sketch. I always try to have the right hue. It might not be the right color. I don't know if it's dark or too light, but I think this will work. So just to show you, I'm going to keep this on here, and all I'm going to do is come in there, and I'm just going to color around in there, just so that when I fussy cut, because I will fussy cut around this too, it'll still blend in with the background. It's not going to be perfectly blended in because I'm not cutting on the line. I'm going to leave a little bit of a border this time. All right, so that's going to be our look for our boat. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut out, and I'll be back. Okay, so I needed to see the placement of my boat, so I knew where to put the sentiment. And this looks like it's going to be great. So anyway, if you wanted to make this as a card, this is a point in which you can just mat it and it would be perfect. So I'm going to move that out of the way, and I'm going to stamp this with VersaFine Clair Nocturne. Oops, of course I moved it. All right. I was going to say, where did my ink go? It was right next to me. Good, be nice to move that. Okay, that looks super. I think I am going to add just a little bit more ink, but I think it looks great. Okay, great. So now this piece is all set and ready to go. And to layer us up, get this out of the way. The next layer would be the white, right? And all I would do is I would put this, I would make it so that it is equally distributed around the outside. And I'm trying to think if I just want to glue that down or if I want to do foam tape, but I think I'm just going to glue it down, especially if I end up framing it. But again, this point right here, you could just stop and make this as a card, and it would look absolutely super. So I'm going to go ahead and get my glue or my tape, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got this all together and I have changed my mind. I am not going to be making it an 8x10. I am going to be making it into a card instead. When I actually put this all together, I discovered I wasn't really fond of how the butterfly was going to work. This was my intention, was for me to put the butterfly up here, and then I was going to have, you know, 2 other butterflies up here. And you know what? I just decided it just was not the look I wanted. So, and that's what you get to do when you're making your cards. You can change your mind and make things as you go if you've never made one before and you know what you want to do. So, this is a plan. I'm going to make my card base out of the Kraft paper. So, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I already put the double-sided foam tape on the back of my boat. And I have attached my inky background to the white paper. I did want to talk to you a little bit about the white paper that I'm using. So let me see if this looks like the way I want that on there. I think it is. I do want it to go above what I made. I want the top of the sailboat to be above. And that looks good. Okay. So I want to talk to you about the paper. I don't know if you noticed, but they have a little bit of speckles to it. When I purchased this paper, I thought it was going to be a plain white paper. It actually has kind of a, it's not a bright white. It has kind of like an off-white to it, but it's really cool because it has all these, I don't know if I can really, if you can really see it on there. But I want to show it to you. Maybe you can see it on the bigger piece, and maybe not. But there's little dots of all different colors in there. So it's lots of times when you want to spackle or whatever you want to call it, you know, shake your brush and then get all these little dots all over. This is kind of cool. And I got it by accident. And I wanted to show you what it is. I don't even know if they still make it. It's called Astro Brights, and it is not a very heavy cardstock. It's actually kind of thin, but it works really good for if you do digital paper or if you want to print off your images, but it is porous. It doesn't have, it is a smooth finish, but it doesn't have, you know, like a coated finish. So, but it's really cool. At least I think it is. And it's actually, like I said, Astro Brights, but the actual, this is more of the information in case anybody's interested. I got mine from Amazon, but that gives you, it is called, see it's right there, Stardust White. So anyway, that's what I'm going to use. I think it really works well for what I'm trying to do. I'm going to go ahead and make my card base and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my card completely finished, and it could still be framed if that's what you had wanted to do, just making the size to fit your frame. But I hope I gave you some inspiration of what you can do, and I appreciate you stopping by, and I will have all of the information in the description below. Thanks again.